Welcome back everyone. If this is your first time here, you're going to find a lot of home DIY and home repair videos. If you're a homeowner or thinking about being a homeowner, you might enjoy some of the videos. This video is about all the various costs related to having lighting installed in your home. So although this channel is all about DIY, you really do need to understand what it costs to have a professional, an electrician, install the various types of lighting before you make the decision to do it yourself. Because let's face it, if it's cheap enough, why not let the professional do it, right? Because your time is also worth something and the peace of mind that you're doing it correctly. However, if it's fairly expensive, then you might want to do it yourself. Or you'll do it yourself because you get the satisfaction of knowing that you did it yourself. Either way, here's what you can expect for the various types of the most common types of lighting that you would install in your home. So I'm going to go through a list here on the computer that I have. These are just ranges and they're estimates, and I'll take you through the various costs and what could also impact the costs. But the first major thing that could impact the cost of installing lighting in your home would be your geography. There are certain higher cost areas where it just costs more for everything. You know, certain areas in California, New York area, wherever the real estate is most expensive, that's where you can expect the trades to also charge you more for the various types of installation that you might have in your house. So let's start with recessed lighting. So you could expect that, and again, these costs are not including the cost of the fixtures themselves, just the installation costs, okay? So recessed lighting, anywhere from $130 to $150 per fixture, per can, okay? Is what you could expect to pay. And that's because usually you're going to have, you know, one switch controlling all of them, so you're bringing the overall cost down. But the other factor that could impact the costs are whether there's access up above the ceiling, let's say in an attic, for the electrician to run the wires, or whether or not the electrician needs to bring brand new wires, snaking them, drilling through ceiling joists and whatnot, which makes it that much more difficult and time consuming. So those are some of the things that could impact your total cost. Also, if there's no power at all to the location and no light switch yet that the electrician can tap into, that would also put that on the higher end or the higher range of costs. So the next one is another popular type of light that people install is pendant lighting. That one we're looking at anywhere from $95 to $250 for the install. But again, you know, that's going to depend on whether or not you're replacing an existing fixture there. If you have already a light, let's say over your sink, maybe a flush mount light, and you want a pendant, what you're looking at is just the electrician just swapping out the light fixture using the existing wiring. You're gonna probably pay on the lower end of that. But if you don't have any light at that spot and he has to run a new wire, then you're going to be at the higher end. But the fixture itself typically is not too difficult. So you know, and it's not when you compare it to you know, a flush mount light, the installation process is essentially the same. A chandelier, you know, that can range anywhere from $100 to $750, depending on the difficulty. If it's a heavy chandelier, I did a video on how to install a heavy chandelier. There's additional bracing that has to happen up in the ceiling to support the weight. Otherwise, you're going to rip the sheetrock right out of the ceiling. So that would be an additional cost. And also, sometimes these things are just big and heavy, and your electrician might need a helper to help him with that job because it might be difficult to manage by himself. That would also add to the additional costs. Track lighting. So track lighting is essentially going to be anywhere from $100 to $250. It is not extremely difficult. You're mounting it at the same point where you would mount a traditional ceiling light fixture, but you're also at that point bolting on, well, there goes the dishwasher, draining, bolting on the whole track itself and a couple of other locations. So it's not extremely expensive. It's really not that much different than, you know, the cost to install a traditional light in the ceiling. Under cabinet lighting, $125 to $300 is what I have here, and you know, that's going to be a little bit more involved, and that's per fixture. And so you've got multiple cabinets. The wire, if it's an existing kitchen and not a remodel, that's going to matter. So if you're gutting your kitchen and the electrician has access to the walls to be able to get in behind where the cabinets are going to be, then it's going to be less expensive than putting new wires through the wall of an existing kitchen that you don't want to destroy and rip apart. So it's going to be much more challenging. So that's where you see the differentiation in costs there. Also, the type of under cabinet lighting. Are you running, you know, 14 gauge wire right to each fixture, or do you have a hub where you're then from there running low voltage wiring out to each fixture? There's a lot of different possibilities that could change your overall cost to install under cabinet lighting. I do have a video on how to install under cabinet lighting. You can check that out. It's fairly popular, but don't let the install impact or the install cost impact the type of under cabinet lighting that you do buy, because you don't want to be unhappy with the finished results just because you saved a little money on the install. Landscape lighting, that's a big one. So anywhere from $1,500 or $1,000 and up, because that's a whole process. You need to bring power to the outside, and you're going to have to install the hub where all of your low voltage wires will originate from, and usually those things also have a day-night sensor, so it knows when to turn on and off the lights. And then you're digging up the yard and doing all kinds of other things, and it's typically going to take a bit longer than installing, you know, say recessed lights in the house. So that's why that cost is going to be a bit higher. If you're changing the light on the entrance of your home, the front door, you know, that is going to be fairly similar to a pendant light if you already have power there. $95 to start, up to $250 if you don't have power in that spot. Typically people do already have a light at the front door, so that shouldn't be an issue. If the entrance light you want is on the inside, that's going to be a similar cost. Again, on the higher end, if you don't already have a light above your entryway in your foyer when you first walk into the house. So let's see what else I have here. Oh, this one is a common question I get. Putting a dimmer switch in. So if you're replacing an existing light switch, all it is just changing the one light switch to a dimmer switch. Unless you need to change how the wiring is done for the dimmer switch to work, which is quite possible. If you don't have a neutral wire, for example, and you just have one wire coming to the switch, that could change things if the electrician has to run a neutral wire for you. But that shouldn't be too expensive. You should try to tackle that one yourself if you can. But again, $95 to $200 depending on whether additional wiring is required. So those are some costs for basic lighting installation that you might have in the house. Oh, garage lights. I need to do a video on garage lights too, because I actually need to change mine. So if you already have power, which you should, every garage has at least a little light bulb in the ceiling, then the installation is not going to be too difficult, but you're probably looking at a few $100s to start without the fixtures. I'm guessing that's what you're looking at to install garage lighting. And a security light outside your garage, let's say a motion sensor light, if you already have a light fixture there, then $95 probably to start at the minimum, going up to again over $200 if you don't have a light in that spot where you want to install it. So that's what you're looking at for lighting install costs. I don't think I've left anything out at this point. Yeah, that's about it. Uh, Maybe the lighting over, as I'm in the kitchen here looking, lighting over the stove, that's going to be part of your hood or your vent. That shouldn't be any different. Or if you don't have one and you just have the ceiling, it's the same cost as lighting over the kitchen sink. So I think I basically covered it. Hopefully this answered some of your questions if you're trying to figure out what it would cost to have lighting installed in your house. If you want to refer back to this video again, hit that like button. It'll save it in your favorites. And if you want to see more lighting videos, hit the bell notification icon so you get notified every time I release one of these videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you next time.